Spring Framework has been a staple for Java development since the early 2000s, but traditional Spring wasn't always easy to work with. In its early days, Spring required a lot of verbosity in configuration. Developers had to define beans and wiring in bulky XML files, which often spanned hundreds or even thousands of lines. This XML-driven setup, while powerful, made even simple tasks feel cumbersome. You had to write a lot of boilerplate code and configuration just to get a basic application off the ground. All this configuration heavy lifting meant developers spent a ton of time on plumbing code, connecting controllers, services, repositories, etc., rather than focusing on business logic. In this video, we'll look at how Spring Boot changed the game, taking the power of the Spring framework and stripping away the boilerplate. We'll walk through how Spring Boot simplifies configuration, automates wiring, embeds servers, and helps you build production-ready applications with minimal setup. Whether you are starting fresh or revisiting Spring after a break, this video will give you a solid understanding of how Spring Boot works under the hood, where it fits in modern development, and how it can supercharge your productivity. Let's get started. In a typical Spring MVC application, the components are organized in clear layers. The controller layer acts as the entry point for requests. For example, a user's browser calls an HTTP endpoint on your app, and a controller, annotated with add_controller or add_REST_controller, receives that request. The controller doesn't handle business logic itself. It delegates work to the next layer down, the service layer. Services contain the business logic of the application. If a service needs data, it calls the repository layer, a DAO or Spring Data Repository, which handles interaction with the database or any persistence mechanism. This flow means a request travels through a chain: client, controller, service, repository, and database. And similarly, the data or response travels back up from the database through the repository and service to the controller, which then returns the result back to the client. The service layer usually takes the repository class, which handles data access. That repository is injected into the service using Spring's dependency injection. It knows how to interact with the database using Spring Data JPA, often through simple interfaces that extend built-in CRUD services. The data itself is mapped using model classes, that is your entities, which represent the structure of tables in your database. In this traditional Spring setup we just saw, you have to manually configure beans, wire dependencies, set up the dispatcher servlets, data source, and more, either through XML or Java config. But with Spring Boot, most of that is done automatically. You no longer need to define the controller, service, or repository beans manually. Just annotate them with add_REST_controller, add_service, or add_repository, and Spring Boot will pick them up during component scanning. For instance, imagine we want a quick REST API. With Boot, we can write this. That's it. Drop this class into Spring Boot project and you immediately have a working REST endpoints of getUsers and getUserID. No XML, no extra config required. Boot's auto configuration detects the REST controller and sets up everything behind the scenes, the dispatcher servlet, JSON converters, etc. to make this work. We of course also need a main application class to run the app, but that is as simple as this. Here, the add Spring Boot application annotation pulls in Spring Boot's auto configuration and component scanning defaults. So when you run spring application.run, Boot will start the embedded Tomcat, create the Spring context, and find the user controller class we wrote. Spring Boot follows the principle of just run. You should be able to start your app with minimal fuss and see results immediately. So let's say you are building a user service that fetches data from the user repository. Here, by adding add entity, you're telling Spring Boot and JPA, this is a model that should be mapped to a table in the database. Each instance of user becomes a row in that table. Add ID marks the primary key. Add generated value tells JPA to auto-generate the ID using the database's identity strategy. And the other fields like name and email become columns. You don't write any SQL. JPA takes care of the mapping for you. This is the foundation of your data layer. And then you have repository interface. User repository extends JPA repository. So Spring Boot auto-generates the implementation. User service gets the repository injected into it automatically via constructor injection. You don't need to new anything manually. Spring's dependency injection handles the wiring at runtime. Another way Spring Boot simplifies development is by using a simple configuration file, application.properties or application.yml. Let's quickly look at how configuration works in Spring Boot using application.yml file. This YAML file defines everything your app needs to run smoothly in real-world environment. At the top, it specifies the application name, helpful when you're working with logging, distributed systems, or config servers. Then it sets up the database connection, including the JDBC URL, username, password, and driver class. This tells Spring Boot exactly how to connect your local or production database. Next, under the JPA section, we configure how Hibernate interacts with the database, whether it should validate the schema, show SQL logs, and what dialect to use. This is crucial for keeping your database and entity mappings in sync. We also define the server settings like which port the app should run on and the base path for all your REST endpoints. This helps control how your app is exposed to the outside world. Finally, the logging section sets the verbosity level so you get the right balance of information in your logs without being overwhelmed. All of this is neatly organized in a hierarchical structure, making it easy to read and maintain. Now, Spring Boot supports both application YAML and application.properties equally. You can use either one, or even both, as long as they don't conflict. In larger teams or microservices project, YAML is often preferred for clarity. But if you're just getting started or prefer simplicity, properties work just as well. Spring Boot is essentially a toolkit on top of Spring that embraces convention over configuration. Its goal is to let you start coding features immediately, with Spring Boot handling the setup and configuration for you. Spring Boot has this magical feature called auto configuration. It looks at the libraries you have added and configures things for you automatically. For example, if it sees an H2 database on your class path, it will spin up an in-memory database without you writing a single line of setup code. If you include Spring MVC, it will wire up a dispatcher servlet and Tomcat for you. No XML, no extra beans, just sensible defaults that work out of the box. It takes care of the boring stuff so you can focus on building your app. Next up, starters. Instead of manually hunting down a bunch of dependencies, Spring Boot gives you curated packages called starters. Want to build a REST API? Just include a Spring Boot startup web and you are good to go. It pulls in everything you need: Spring MVC, Jackson for JSON, validation, and even an embedded server. There are starters for security, JPA, RabbitMQ, and more. It saves time and ensures everything works well together. And here is something that makes your life a lot easier: embedded servers. With Spring Boot, your application runs as a standalone Java app. No need to deploy an external Tomcat or Jetty. Just run java-jar and your app is live on port 8080. It bundles the server inside your app, making it super portable and cloud ready. Great for microservices and container-based deployments. And finally, Spring Boot embraces convention over configuration. If you follow the defaults, Boot just makes things work. It looks for an application properties or YAML file, loads your configs automatically, and even assumes where to scan for components based on your package structure. You don't need to set everything manually unless you want to. And this drastically cuts down boilerplate and lets you jump straight into writing business logic. Spring Boot isn't only about simple demos or monoliths. It shines in modern microservices architecture. In a typical microservice architecture, you may have small Spring Boot services each doing one thing. For example, an order service, a product service, and an authentication service, and so on and so forth. Let's start with the entry point of the system, the API gateway. Think of it as the traffic cop that routes incoming requests to the right microservice. Whether it's the order service or the user service, the gateway decides where each request goes. It also handles common tasks like authentication, rate limiting, and request aggregation. Instead of clients talking to 10 different services, they just talk to one gateway. Clean and simple. Now, with multiple services running, how do they even find each other? And that's where service discovery comes in. Each Spring Boot service registers itself with a central registry, like Eureka. It's like a dynamic phone book for your system. So when one service needs another, it just looks up the name. No hard-coded URLs needed. So if a service crashes, traffic automatically reroutes to a healthy one. Super handy for scaling and reliability. Now, managing configuration across dozens of services can quickly become a mess. Enter the config server. Instead of hard-coding values or maintaining separate config files, you store everything in one place, often a Git repo. Each service pulls its own settings during startup based on its profile. So when you change a config, it updates everywhere. Spring Boot makes this super easy to set up and consume. In a microservices setup, failure is inevitable. One service going down shouldn't bring the whole system with it. And that's where circuit breakers come in. They act like safety switches. If a downstream service is slow or unresponsive, the circuit opens and fallback logic kicks in. You can even monitor these circuits with dashboards. Thanks to Spring Cloud, adding resilience is as easy as few annotations and configs. Spring Boot's Actuator exposes metrics and health checks out of the box. You get info on memory, CPU, traffic, and more, all available on endpoints. These can be fed into these tools like Prometheus or Grafana, and you can also add distributed tracing with Sleuth or OpenTelemetry to track requests across services. It's all built to support observability at scale. What's amazing is that each of these components, the gateway, registry, config server, and more, can be built as Spring Boot apps themselves. You just add the right dependency, flip a few configs, and you are up and running. Each service stays independent, running on its own port, while Spring Cloud handles the coordination behind the scenes. This makes your architecture both scalable and resilient and perfect for running in containers or Kubernetes. Now, no Spring discussion is complete without talking about security. Spring security is powerful, but Spring Boot makes it incredibly easy to use. Just add the Spring Security Starter and Boot will secure all your endpoints by default. It even creates a default user with a random password and prints it in the logs. So you are protected right from the start. You can override this with your own username and password using few lines in application properties. If you want more control like securing specific URLs or enabling OAuth 2, Boot integrates cleanly with Spring Security's annotation and config classes. You can use the method level security too. Just add @pre-authorize and Spring handles the rest. In short, Spring Boot takes the complexity out of security. You get safe defaults instantly, and when you are ready to customize, the full power of Spring Security is right there. And by the way, I've also got a full video just on Spring Security, so check that out if you want to go deeper. At its core, Spring Boot takes the powerful foundation of Spring Framework and streamlines them. With Spring Boot, you can start a new Spring project and have it running in minutes, not days, thanks to auto configuration and status. It encourages best practices like layered architecture, using dependency injection, etc. by making the default setup just work. This means whether you're a Spring beginner or experienced Spring developer, Boot helps you be more productive and focus on writing business logic, not framework setup. It's no surprise that Spring Boot has become the de facto way to start new Spring projects in the last decade. Spring Boot is a vast topic and have just scratched the surface. In this introduction, we focused on the core ideas to get started or refreshed if you are coming back to Spring. From here, there are many exciting directions you can go. You can dive deeper into Spring Boot's Actuator and health monitoring to understand how to keep an eye on running apps. You might explore Spring Cloud in depth to see how Boot is used to build full microservices systems with distributed configuration, service discovery, and resiliency. And if you are interested in front-end integration, Spring Boot also works great with technologies like React or Angular as the backend. And since we mentioned security only briefly, you could watch my dedicated Spring security video or try adding OAuth 2 login to your Boot app. I encourage you to go to the Spring official website or Spring initializer start.spring.io and create a Spring Boot 3 project of your own. Try writing a couple of simple endpoints, maybe connect to a database, secure it with Spring Security, and you will get a feel for the framework. The community is huge and there is plenty of guides and docs to help you along the way. Happy coding and stay tuned for more in-depth topics in our upcoming videos.